Hey guys, welcome back to yet another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at none other than Linux Lite. Linux Lite is the perfect distribution for your grandpa, your grandma, your parents, your little brother, and none other than you. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and take a look at Linux Lite. And I don't know why it says install now because I just installed it. So first up, this is based on Debian, so it's rock solid, and you know that you're going to have a very stable system with not that many updates, but on the security side, you're going to be perfectly okay as security updates will come through. So let's hit the super button, let's type the terminal, and first up, we're going to go ahead and type uname a. All right, so we are running the 5.4 kernel. So this is the LTS kernel that comes with Debian 10 Bullseye, I believe that's the name. And now we're going to check if we have htop installed. Oh, yes, we do. So on a fresh start, 605 megabytes is the amount of memory that it takes. Not a whole lot, not the lightest that I have seen, but for an old computer, this is perfectly fine. Now, if you are on a very old computer, you could go to some places like Antix Linux, but this will give you a modern light environment, but also very good for people coming from Windows. Now, I will get to that point in a minute, but before that, let's quickly go ahead and check if NeoFetch is installed. So terminal and NeoFetch. Okay, so for those of you who are new to Linux, this is based on Debian, so if you have to install something from the command line, what you do is you type sudo, so that's getting the administrator privileges like in Windows, apt install neofetch. Very straightforward, single line, it's going to do all your stuff. Press enter, type in your password. It's not going to show your password, but that's okay. Hit enter and hit Y, press enter again, and we're going to have NeoFetch installed. So as we're installing NeoFetch, let's go ahead and open the Settings Manager. Okay. So Settings Manager is very simple to use. As you can see, this is not overly cluttered. It has beautiful icons and it perfectly categorizes what your settings are. Let's go to Display. So we are running at 1920 by 1080, 60 Hertz. Nothing special, but this is a very clean interface. It's actually running XFCE 4 dot something. So it's very light, as I alluded to earlier, and it's very fast on your old computer. So first up, we have appearance, so we can customize the look and feel of our desktop. We have the different styles. Here we have icons. We could change icons. By default, it's running the Papyrus adapter. We could change out the fonts, and we also have settings to show images on buttons, show images in menus, a few extra settings that you might need. We have desktop. So desktop would be your backgrounds. Let's go ahead and choose one. Let's say this one. Yeah, it's pretty. Let's keep it and we're going to move ahead. So go back. And under hardware, we have color profiles, display, high DPI settings. So if you're running a 4K monitor on something like, say, 24 inches, high DPI settings will be helpful for you. We also have Power Manager. So this is your basic things where you choose what you do when your power button is pressed, when the sleep button is pressed, hibernate, etc. For system, your suspend and your display blank after the certain time. This you can all find it here. Inside system, we have accessibility, greeter settings, auto lock-in, light desktop. So a lot of light things in here, as you can see. And we have this PC. We can enable what things we want to appear on the desktop. So over here. We can also have light upgrade, so we can upgrade our version. So let's say Linux Lite 6. So you click it and Linux Lite 6 will be installed onto your system. All right. So now that we've seen the settings, let's close it. And as you can see, this is the panel, the Windows-like panel. So on the left, you have the Start menu, or this is actually the Whisker menu. It's special. I'm going to come back to it in a minute. Here you have your Minimize All Open Windows and Show the Desktop. So let's say you have this open. I click this button. It'll minimize everything, and it'll come back to your desktop. These are your pinned icons, and this is where you have your Windows XP style writings for each of the applications that you have open. So if I open Firefox, you can see that we have Firefox and we have Linux Lite in a very Windows XP style appearance. Now here are your workspaces. So by default, let's say you have a few files, a few windows open up in this workspace, it gets cluttered and you don't want to use it anymore. Or let's say you have a workspace for work and another for your play or personal. So what you can do is switch over to the other workspace and you will get a clean desktop to begin with. And I think you can also drag and drop applications. So yeah, I dragged Firefox and it went to the second workspace instead of the first one. We're going to take a look at File Manager, but before, so now that we've installed NeoFetch, let's go ahead and run it. As you can see, it's a very beautiful feather icon. So we are running the Linux Lite 5.6. The kernel is 5.4 as we saw earlier. Theming is Adapta. We are using XFCE, and that's pretty much it. I love the translucency, by the way, of the terminal. It's really nice. Now let's go into the file manager, and it's beautiful. Let's go to Help and About. So this is using Thunar, a lightweight and very good file manager for the XFCE desktop environment. I love the icons. You can add network, you can have your other drives, your trash, your desktop, and everything else. All right, so now let's talk about one of the most important things which makes Linux Lite very useful for people who are jumping from Windows to Linux. The specialty is whenever I hover over each of these categories, not only do I get a very Windows-like submenu, but what I also get are very generic and easy to understand names. So instead of names like Firefox, Thunderbird, Thunar, GIMP, we have names like Mail Client, Network Connections, Web Browser, Image Editor, Document Scanner, Paint, Photo Manager. Under multimedia, you don't have VLC written because some people might not know what VLC is. So it is actually media player volume control. I absolutely adore this style of naming your applications. Now I understand veteran Linux users will probably look for GIMP instead of image editor, but if you are new or if you are someone who is new to computing in general, or if you're an old person, or maybe you're not that tech savvy and you don't care or don't know what GIMP is, typing in image editor will actually help you to get up and running with your system instead of spending a ton of time figuring out the names of applications. Now, if you are a veteran Linux user, let's go ahead and type GIMP into the search bar and let's see if you can pull up the same result. So when we type GIMP, we get image editor. So if you are someone who is used to the open source Linux applications, and if you type GIMP, you're going to get it. If you type VLC, you're going to get it. If you type Firefox, you're going to get it. But the beauty of Whisker menu over here is that it shows you what the application does and what the generic name of it is instead of some obscure application name like Gwenview. I think along with that, we also checked some of the default applications. So let's just go over that quickly. We have under settings, you have about me, accessibility. So basically it's categorized like it was in the settings. Under accessories, you have application finder, archive manager, backups. Backup is super important using rsync. This is, I believe, using timeshift, and it's very useful if you break your system and if you want to return to an earlier let's say image of your installation of Linux. You have text editor, you have fonts, you can take screenshots. As I said, we have GIMP and Photo Manager, Paint, Document Scanner for internet. We obviously have web browser. They include Thunderbird for the email, For multimedia, we have VLC out of the box, which is very good, because a lot of people are actually very accustomed to VLC and they would know what they're getting into. For Office, we have, again, LibreOffice, but look at how it's named. It's named Word Processor, Presentation, and Spreadsheet. I mean, LibreOffice Writer is a very self-explanatory name, but having it as word processor is even more useful. Let's click on it and let's see if dictionary support works, if the version number is updated, and so on and so forth. So about LibreOffice. So this is 6.4.7.2, so it's a little old because it's based on Debian. If you want to have new LibreOffice versions, you could just install Flatpaks of it. Let's see if it works. I love Linux. I'm not sure I like the font, but whatever, you can change it whenever you want to. Okay, so dictionary support is not enabled out of the box, but well, we're not going to worry about it too much. We're going to get out of it. So let's open up Lite software and let's take a look at how Linux Lite handles our software installations. So right now it says, would you like to update software sources now? Now, if you're installing Linux Lite, you would absolutely go ahead and hit yes. I'm on a virtual machine. I'm going to click no and proceed. This is the beauty of Linux Lite. It just says install software or remove software. 2 buttons, you cannot go wrong with this. I'm going to click on install software first and let's see what happens. Okay, so it gives you a list of software that you can install, and over here, as you can see, Audacity, Calibre, Chrome, Dropbox, FileZilla, Kodi, NitroShare, OBS, Play on Linux, Redshift. You basically have whatever you need in here. Now, this is not as extensive as, say, something like the GNOME Software Center, but if you are someone who is an average computer user, I bet my bottom dollar that most of these would be everything that you do. You're going to be very happy with this list. It's very intuitive, very easy to understand, very easy to hit the ground running. We're not going to go ahead and install, but if you could just click on Audacity, you could click install, enter your password, and that would be it. Okay, so with that, we come to the end of this short view on Linux Lite 5.6. This is a fantastic operating system. And with that, I will catch you next time. Peace.